Hi and welcome to the Crafty Whisk. It's Ollie here today and we're going to be making a bookmark for a bookmark swap that I have with Dawn Lewis this month. It's not the traditional bookmark, it's a corner bookmark, and I'm popping it onto a card front which you can then make into a card, put it onto a base and it becomes a card so that it's an actual gift for the recipient. It just works by slotting over a few pages of your book and it's nice and flat, as you can see there, and with the decorative ribbon you can just pull it out nice and easily. So let's get started. I'm using Copics and it's on Nina 80-pound cardstock, and I've stamped it out with Memento Tuxedo black ink, which is Copic friendly. It's very basic colouring today. I'm just starting off with the dark, going in with the mid-tone and then blending it out with the light tone. So not rocket science today, it's very, very easy and quick because I wanted it all to be quite subtle. In the balloons, I'm only going to be using two colours. So they are like like the balloons have that almost like see-through effect to them. I wanted to try and retain that as best as I could. I'll pop the list of colours of the Copics in the description box as well. And with the balloons, I probably do it a little bit differently to how you're meant to do it. I start with a darker colour, blend it out as much as I can with the second colour, leaving a tiny sliver of the white cardstock behind so it forms a natural light spot on the balloons, as you can see there. With this green one, with the ones I'd already done, I noticed that the green leaked into the balloon below, which is why I'm starting away from the stamped edge a little bit. It was only this colour that it happened to, and I'm not exactly sure why. So I just dealt with it with the following ones. The fuller balloons, I'm actually putting a little bit of the dark colour into the lower third, then blending it out. This one took me a little while because it's a brand new Copic, but it's half dry, so I've already got to get a re-inker for it. I don't know what's going on with the Copics at the moment. The lid isn't very stable on it, so I'm assuming that I probably need to get a new lid for it when I re-ink it, because the lid should snap into place and this one doesn't. A bit disappointing, but I got it in one of the sales, so can't really complain too much. So I'm nearly done here now. And I'm just pushing a little bit of the yellow back in so that it goes in the lines instead of out of the lines. You just sort of push it with your colourless blender. So now let's work on the actual bookmark itself. The piece of cardstock you need for the actual bookmark is a 4-inch square, and then the pattern paper for the front is 2 inches by 4 inches and a 3-inch square of the blue. And the back stabilizer piece is 2 3/4 square. And then the two squares, the green one from the back and the blue one at the front, we're going to cut in half diagonally. The main piece of 4-inch square, we're going to measure halfway, so it's 2 inches on 3 sides. And then we're using our scoreboard, and I've just marked a black line with Sharpie on mine because it's a bit hard to see where the tracks are. And you go from one of your marks to the next one and you score, and then you do the same thing. So from that mark to the center again, and that gives you 2 little triangles which you will then fold back. And once we pop the stabilizer piece on, that actually forms the pocket for your bookmark to go over the pages. But we'll work on the decorative Actually, no, I'm going to cut them in half first. So the blue bit for the front, we're going to cut in half diagonally. And that was 3 inches square. And you can go bigger. You can go 3 1/4 inches if you wish. But I was economising on paper, so I just did the 3. And then the little green one was the 2 3/4 square cut in half diagonally. And then along the little blue triangle and the green piece of decorative paper at the front, I'm just using a little scallop border from Fawn. And the set is called Stitched Scalloped Borders. It's really, really pretty. This gives a very small little scallop finish, which has stitching in it as well. And I'm going as close to the edge as I can, so I'm not wasting any paper at all. Now, if you were doing a 3 1/4 inch square, you would still do the same thing. It actually would come down your bookmark just a little bit. Like the one in my example, that actually comes down just a wee bit. But I had to pump out 10 of these little babies, and there's only a certain amount of the pattern paper in the books, so I had to really make it go all the way. So I'm doing the same thing to the green decorative element down the bottom of the bookmark. And again, I was economising on paper there as well. You can make it a little bit longer, just a 1/4 inch longer, and you'd be out of strife. Because being economical with my paper, I had to trim just a skerrick, like 1/8 of an inch, off the bottom of my bookmark so that we could see the scallops down the bottom. It didn't impact the bookmark at all in any way. It was just how I tried to economise. So I always do a dry fit first to make sure that I've cut them the right size, and if I need to take anything off the bottom. And this is where I worked out, just need to take that tiny little sliver off the bottom and it would all be fine. So it's just that tiny sliver there, so it's roughly 1/8 of an inch. And then it works out wonderfully. So you can see the little scallop design there. So you just got to pop them on, and I've used dot liner today from, I can never pronounce this company properly, Kokuyu. I don't use this one a lot, but it's really handy for this sort of thing. If you need to take any of the paper back off, it allows you to take the paper off and then re-put it down if you've put it in the wrong position, which was very handy for me when I get to mounting the bookmark on the backing card front. So now with the flaps at the back, there's where the little green triangle comes into effect. That was the 2 3/4 square we trimmed in half. Now make sure we get adhesive all the way to the edges, because this is what holds your bookmark closed. And I would recommend tape runner, not liquid glue here, because you don't want any of that liquid glue going underneath and gluing your whole bookmark closed. That defeats the whole purpose of the bookmark. And there you go, that's the little pocket there. So now we can realise I've made a mistake. I forgot to put the ribbon in. That's where this tape runner came into its own. I just used my little Creative Memories little, I don't know what that, multi-purpose tool I think they call it. I call it my little undoer. And I was able to get in between the 2 layers of cardstock and just prise them apart a little bit so I could put the ribbon in. It's just a cross-grain ribbon that I had in my stash, just from Spotlight. And I'm applying liquid glue to it. And I nearly forgot to loop the ribbon. I don't know where my brain was at. Overthinking things as usual. And there you go. So that's the ribbon all put into place there. And the reason I got 2 glue pots out is because my art glitter glue, it was clogged, and I didn't want to fiddle around with getting a pin and unclogging it for the video, so I just used my Lawn Fawn glue. So the sentiment I'm using on the front of the bookmark is from a Kindred stamp set called It's About Time. It's a Doctor Who themed stamp set, right down my alley. So I'm just using my Misty with some Altenew Turquoise ink, and I've got the other sentiment I need later on in the Misty there as well. It's really handy when you're pumping out a few cards or bookmarks, whatever. You can just have a few stamps ready to go in your Misty, so that you just got to put the card in a different position in the Misty and you're right to go. I love it for that. So now we're putting a little hamster on. I'm going to use liquid glue, and that's from Celebration Hamsters by Mama Elephant. We're using liquid glue because we don't want any height on this at all. No dimension whatsoever, because it has to go in a book. We don't want to damage the book's pages. So I'm just using the liquid glue. Whatever your liquid glue of choice is will be fine. And there you go. So now we're going to do the base. This is not essential. I just wanted it to look like it was a gift rather than just the bookmark. So we start off with the standard 5.5 by 4.25 base. And the rectangle I'm using behind the bookmark is a 4.5-inch square. And then the washi tape bit down the bottom is 1.25 by 4.25. So the wave that I'm doing is from Creative Memories. It's the wave blade in their personal trimmer. And it's got 2 tracks on the trimmer. The closest one to the purple paper there is the cutting track, but I'm aligning the paper to the second cutting track, and that enables me to get a very small amount of wastage. And I'm trimming it on 3 sides. And that will give me a border similar to the scallop border that I had. If you've got any dicky corners, you just trim them with your scissors so that they're not all pokey. And now we come, oh no, I'm going to do this bit first. So I'm just going to do the same scallop border that I did on the bookmark. And this bit of decorative trim can be any size you want. The washi tape I'm using is 1 inch wide, so that's why I've gone for 1.25 inches height with this decorative trim. So depending on how you're decorating it, you can either go smaller, larger, or not at all. It's completely personal preference. I just needed something to go behind the washi tape because washi tape is quite translucent. So I needed a colour behind it so that you could actually see what the washi tape is. So you just line it up down the bottom. And then the washi tape is from Crafter's Companion, from the Gift of Giving series that they have. It's really pretty. It's a little pastel balloons, which I thought went really, really well. So I'm just lining it up on one side, going across to the other. I'm being very economical here and trimming it precisely because, like I said, I had to get 10 of these out. I only had the 1 roll of washi tape and there's not a lot on it. So I had to make it go all the way. Now this next bit, I'm just doing the other part of the Misty where I had the other greeting, or the other sentiment I should say. And that was from Mama Elephant, Goodreads. It's a lovely little set all about reading and learning, all that kind of thing. And I'm using the same turquoise ink from Altenew. I just wanted a tone on tone look. I didn't want the sentiment to overpower what I was making. Now comes the tricky bit. I must admit I did this a few times before I got it right and before I figured out the easy way of doing it. I tried to overcomplicate it and I just made a huge mess. So basically I'm lining up where the purple paper has to go, and the easiest way I found is to put the bookmark onto the cardstock and then take your bit of decorative paper or cardstock put it over the top and just sort of eyeball. You got your 1/4 inch or 1/8 of an inch, however much allowance you want around it. Then flip the whole thing over, mark it out in pencil where you need to cut, and then cut. Make sure it works, and if you're doing more than one, use it as your template for all the other pieces, because you don't want to do this 10 times. You want to get it right once and then use it as a template. So I'm just making sure that it's all right. And I'm just going to be using tape runner to pop it down again. And this is where that tape runner came into its own, because this poor card base, I had to do this 3 times because I could not get the angles right until I discovered the way that I've just shown you how to do it. I don't know why I didn't think of it first. It just made it much easier. And then just trim off anything you got hanging over, pop your bookmark on, and that's pretty good, I reckon. And hello, Miss Nala, come to visit us. So we're just going to do finishing touches now with the Sakura jelly rolls. I'm using the white to highlight the balloons and the hamster. And I'm going to go in with their black glaze and just pop some dots on his eyes to bring him to life. And that is my project finished. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you've tried this sort of thing before, if you think it's a good idea, let me know in the comments. And please like, subscribe and share. It helps my tiny little channel to grow. And I love bringing you new things as often as I can. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.